You ever have one of those days when the universe just seems to dare you to prove yourself right in front of the worst possible audience? Well, let me tell you about mine. It started with laughed-era cold, metallic sound ringing through the officers' club at Naval Station Coronado. Colonel Bradford Vaughn, a mountain of a man with a head full of opinions and a chest full of medals, pointed straight at Maya's scrawny 12-year-old girl clutching a battered leather case and declared to a crowd of Navy SEALs that little girls should stick to dolls. You could almost hear the amusement dripping from his voice. Only thing was, I wasn't there to play with dolls. I come to shoot. Here's what the colonel didn't know me name is Penelope Morrison. And while I looked every bit the quiet, polite Navy kid, my mother had been one of the most gifted snipers the Navy ever had. She'd started training me before I could even reach the trigger. Every Saturday since I was 7, we'd lie side by side at the range, her teaching me not just how to shoot, but how to breathe, how to think, how to outlast every doubt that might creep in when the pressure was on. Mom died on a classified mission overseas. I lost her, but I kept every lesson she ever gave me. And on that gray, misty morning, 3 years to the day after she was gone, all I wanted was a shot to honor her memory. Dad Kevin Morrison walked with me across the base, his face marked by old grief and that stubborn Navy discipline. He traded his SEAL trident for a civilian job, said I needed stability after Mom passed, and honestly, he was right. But as we neared the officers' club, he squeezed my shoulder, lowered his voice, and said, "Kiddo, not everyone's going to get why you want this today. Be ready for that." I nodded, touching the silver trident around my neck. Mom's last gift. "It's not about them, Dad. Mom always said skills fade if you don't keep them sharp." Walking into the club was like stepping into a time capsule, polished wood, anchors everywhere, history staring at you from every wall. The place was alive with the buzz of Monday morning. Tired officers clanking coffee cups, stories from weekends no one really cared about. I drifted toward a glass case of old medals, trying to steady myself. That's when Colonel Vaughn saw me. He strutted over, his voice echoing off every surface. "Little girl, you know this is an officers' club, not a tourist attraction." I could feel every eye on me, their skepticism like static in the air. "Yes, sir. I'm waiting for my dad." He had the case I was carrying, like maybe it was full of coloring books. "What's in there?" "Some toy." I took a breath. "No, sir. My shooting kit." A hush fell. You'd think I'd announced I was packing live ammo in my lunchbox. Dad hustled over, but I beat him to the punch. "My mother taught me," I said. "She was a Navy sniper." Vaughn snorted. "A sniper?" "Sure, and I'm the Queen of England." Around us, a few SEALs shifted, one or two looked uncomfortable, but most were just waiting for the show. Then a new voice cut through, the kind that commands attention without ever raising a pitch. Lieutenant Nicole Morrison was Phantom 7, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. Best shooter I ever saw. Master Chief Stephanie Cross had entered, all quiet authority and razor-sharp gaze. You could have heard a pin drop. Suddenly, the colonel's ridicule didn't seem so funny. From that moment, the air changed. Colonel Vaughn doubled down, but I could see his confidence wobbling. Captain Foster, the range safety officer, stepped in and asked about my training. I told him about bolt actions, iron sights, breathing control, the works. Master Chief Cross backed up every word about my mom, and just like that, the challenge was out in the open. Vaughn couldn't resist. "Let's see what you've got, kid." So he marched out me, Dad, Master Chief Cross, half the SEALs, and trailing behind, the colonel, who seemed sure he was about to see me humiliated. The range looked endless in the morning sun, ocean air sharpening every edge. Master Chief Cross leaned in, gave me one last tip about wind and mirage, just like Mom used to. The professionals lined up. I checked my kit, ear pro, glasses, and notebook full of scribbles, all organized with the obsessive neatness Mom drilled into me. Safety checks, position, everyone watched, waiting for me to crack. I got down, lined up the iron sights, and everything else just fell away. Inhale, exhale, hold, squeeze. The first shot rang out dead center. Murmurs. Second shot right on top of the first. By the fifth, it looked like I'd only made one hole. The range officers exchanged glances. Colonel Vaughn tried to shrug it off. Any recruit could do that at 25 meters. So they pushed it out to 300 meters, the kind of shot that splits the real shooters from the pretenders. They handed me a bolt action, dialed the scope, and let the wind play tricks across the range. "You sure about this?" Dad asked. I just nodded. "I need to do this for Mom." The shot felt different, a little more kick, a little more challenge. I watched the flags, did the math in my head, compensated for the mirage. Inhale, exhale, hold, squeeze again and again, 5 shots. The spotter called out, all within an inch and a half. That's advanced sniper standards. Silence. Even Vaughn's mouth hung open. And then twist number 1. The base radios crackled. Unscheduled hello inbound, Pentagon ID, top brass on board. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about me and a mouthy colonel anymore. Admiral Carolyn Wells strode onto the range, silver hair gleaming, eyes hard as flint. "Miss Morrison," she said, "would you be interested in special training? Talent like your swell. It changes what we think is possible." Right behind her, she introduced a woman I'd never met, a living legend in a regulation haircut. My grandmother. Turns out, she'd been serving under deep cover for 30 years, watching our family from afar to keep us safe. My marksmanship wasn't just something Mom passed down, it was in my blood, running through 3 generations of women the Navy barely acknowledged. It hit me hard, everything Mom had sacrificed, everything Dad had done to protect me, all the quiet, careful training weekends. Even the humiliation at the hands of Colonel Vaughn, who now looked about 2 feet tall in the shadow of these women who'd done more for the Navy than he'd ever know. But there it was, an open invitation to a future I'd never dared imagine. The officers around us whispered about talent, programs, legacy, and for once no one doubted what I could do. Vaughn tried to apologize, but my grandmother just shook her head. "This isn't about special treatment," she said. "It's about recognizing excellence wherever it comes from." As the sun dipped low over Coronado, the range quiet except for the hum of distant helicopters, I looked at Dad, at Master Chief Cross, at Admiral Wells, at a grandmother I never knew I had. I felt pride, grief, hope, and a little anger for all the years lost to secrets. I knew then that this was more than a personal victory. It was proof that talent, grit, and the will to honor those who came before could blow the doors off any old boys club, even one guarded by a colonel who didn't believe in miracles. But here's what I want to know. What do you think? Is military talent born, made, or hidden by the system? Should kids be given a shot if they've got the skill, or are the rules there for a reason? When does honoring a legacy cross the line into obsession? Let me hear your thoughts down below, right or wrong. I want to know where you stand. If you've stuck with me this far, you know what to do. Subscribe, join the conversation, and let's talk about what really makes a hero. You just might be surprised by the answers.